Welcome to 100 Songs That Define Heavy Metal. I'm your host, Brian Slagel from Metal Blade Records. Hey everybody, when you're in Las Vegas, you need to go to the Metal Blade Museum. One of the only heavy metal museums in the country where we have tons of stuff from Metal Blade, but also artists like, well, of course, Slayer and Metallica, which started with Metal Blade, but also Aerosmith, Guns N' Roses, Deep Purple, Alice Cooper, Stars, Thin Lizzy, so much more. It's a really great peek at the world of heavy metal. There's tons of displays and guitars and drum sets and all sorts of really cool things. And it's only about 5 minutes from the Strip. So go to metalblade.com/museum for all the details. And also, our store now, which used to be in another part of Las Vegas, is now located inside the Metal Blade Museum. And by the way, it's free to get into the store as well. You can learn everything at metalblade.com/museum and go check it out the next time you're in Las Vegas. Thanks for being here. We're going to talk about one of my favorite bands of all time and one of the most legendary bands ever, still doing it today at a high level too, King's X. And we're going to talk about the amazing song Black Flag. We're going to talk to Dug Pinnick about that, so that's going to be a lot of fun. But we begin it all, as we always do, with Mr. Martin Popoff.
Excellent choice for a featurable song, Brian. Black Flag by King's X. Love that title. That instantly made this song stand out on this album. On an album with a very strange title. It's called King's X. This is almost the definition of a Dark Horse album. It just sort of sits wedged, kind of ending an earlier era before we get up to Dogman, produced by Brendan O'Brien. This is another Sam Taylor production. It's got a very enigmatic album cover as well. So King's X came out March 10th, 1992. It's their fourth album. It got to number 138 on the charts, but Faith, Hope, Love before it got to number 85, and Dogman will get to number 88. The song as a single, it was released as a single, but it's a promo single, so it's almost more like one of these suggested singles. It got to number 17 on mainstream rock, but it's a great song. It's probably my second favorite song in the album. I just love The World Around Me, the first song. Lost in Germany gets a lot of attention as well, but I really like this song a lot. It's just got that nice mid-tempo vibe. It's very accessible. You got these beautiful harmonies at the halftime break in it. It's got this cutting, grinding guitar solo from Ty. It's sung by Doug. I really do appreciate the Doug sung songs the most, generally speaking. But yeah, just a really good quality, immediate. King's X can go off into some pretty atonal or long and jammy things once in a while. I don't know, every once in a while. They're one of my favorite bands ever, but every once in a while there are songs that kind of rub me the wrong way. Maybe they're too psychedelic or too texture, jammy, whatever. But I love these that just have this beautiful melodies, funkiness in the riff. Really enigmatic lyric on here as well. It's almost like the entire song doesn't overcome depression, but there's just this kind of narrative of hopefulness that goes throughout the song that you're going to figure it out, and you're going to figure out how to remove the black flag on the morning, the black flag on the day kind of thing. It's a really cool lyric. Doug doesn't tell you too much about what's going on in it, but it's there. It's there for you to think about, and like with many of their songs, it's making you think about working your way through making your own mood adjustments, kind of thing. So there you go, Black Flag from King's X, March 10th, 1992.
Thanks, Martin. Always amazing insight from him. Again, he's written almost 150 books on hard rock and heavy metal, so he knows his stuff, and I always like getting his perspective on things. It's always a little bit different. And we welcome back our old friend, producing legend.
Legend, I don't know.
Canadian legend. Mr. Jay Ruston. How are you, sir?
I'm great, Brian. How are you?
Good. So we're talking King's X. We're talking Black Flag, which this is the last Sam Taylor produced album that they did. And of course, their relationship with Sam was not the best relationship. Obviously, been very well counted. I'm sure we'll talk about that with Doug a little bit too. But still, sonically, I think all these records sound great.
I do too, and I love them all. Obviously, the next album after this was a massive change when they moved to Brendan O'Brien, which most people love. But I love the way these records sounds, and this record in particular, the self-titled King's X, which came after Faith, Hope, and Love. There was a marked change in the guitar sound. it still sounds just like Ty Tabor, but there's like this mid-range change, and the guitars are very loud in the mix on this record. And Black Flag especially, there's this mid-range crunch that I think was missing on the previous record. It's kind of there in the Gretchen record, but this album in particular, it's like really up front, especially his solos. So I don't know what they did differently. He was very secretive, almost maybe not on purpose, about his guitar tone back in those days, but he had a really distinctive guitar sound, which I think attracted most people to this band. And of course, Doug's voice. And Doug's bass sound.
I mean, look, everything about that band is unique and different, and makes them so legendary for so long. I mean, look at all the celebrities and bands that just worship them. I mean, a lot of people credit them with starting grunge, that they were kind of the band that all those grunge bands all loved and kind of had a little bit there. I mean, I don't know if I go that far, but they certainly had a massive influence. That's for sure.
I think probably the first record was out, and Gretchen was coming out, and there was ads in all the magazines, and it had quotes from like mega famous musicians like Metallica and people like that I loved. And I'm like, that was a really smart marketing ploy for Gretchen Goes to Nebraska to have all those bands, because me and my high school buddies were like, we got to hear this band. And we all ran out and got the cassette or the CD at the time, vinyl probably, and we're just blown away. And I thought the slick, super clean production at that time made a lot of sense, because it's what was kind of happening. But yeah, that crossover by early 90s, things were getting like tougher sounding and heavier sounding. And clearly the album after this is when they made a massive change in sound. I still love it. I think the first 4 records sound fantastic. I love them.
Yeah, I agree. And I think this was kind of the first one. To me, this was kind of the beginning of the real King's X. This is, I know how they wanted to sound, and this was more along what they wanted to do. And a little bit, I know that still wasn't easy in the studio with Sam Taylor, but Sam had such a amount of pull over them that that's why I know they're not huge fans of the first records, because they see that's more Sam Taylor doing his thing than us doing ours. But this one sounded a little bit heavier, a little bit darker, which I think is good, and that's you clearly see that, like you mentioned in the record after that, when they went fully super heavy. But this was kind of the prequel to that one, maybe.
I've been kind of curious, like I don't know the story of them and Sam and why it was sour and everything, but I think he was their manager and producer, which is always kind of strange. But of the 4 records, Gretchen sounds the best. And then Faith Up in Love is weird. Like, it's really wide and the guitars are kind of thin. But then this record, it kind of comes back like this, and it's tougher. And the bass isn't as present on this album. Like, his kind of jangly sort of metallic sound isn't as obvious on this record, but the guitars are just massive, and I think that's what makes it attractive. And the vocals on this song in particular, all the stacks and the answering and everything, it's so good.
Yeah, I mean, that's really a lot of their magic, is those 3 guys, just put them together and they all just create this magic where musically it's that way, vocally all their vocals just meld perfectly with each other. It's like these 3 guys needed to be in a band, right? And do what they're doing. And I'm so happy they're still doing it to this day at a really high level. And they've left this insane legacy of all these great music. Like we were talking before we came on, and you were like, I hope you're doing other songs than this one. I go, it's so hard to pick a King's X song to do, because, I could do 30 songs on King's X that I feel are one of the 100 songs that define heavy metal, but we can only pick a few.
The opening song on this record, World Around Me is incredible. And, it's just...
They're all so good.
When in the late 90s, I saw King's X with some buddies of mine, my buddy Colin Mills, who you've met many times, in Toronto. We drove down from Ottawa, and they were playing at El Macombo, which I had played at El Macombo with my own band. I'm like, King's X is playing El Macombo. It's so small. But it was sort of like this lull in their career where I think they were struggling a little bit, but we didn't realize that Ozfest, I believe, was in Toronto the next night. I think it was Ozfest or some big festival, and Pantera was in town. And the whole band showed up to stand right in front of the stage and watch King's X, and it just blew my mind that they were there. It's just, and we may have discussed this night another time, but I just, for us as fans standing in the audience, it just solidified that they're legends. To have this massive band just stand there and be fans was so damn cool.
Oh, I've seen that happen with so many different, massive, and they want to be in the front row and go crazy.
Headbang.
Chris Cornell was one of them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I had many conversations with Dime about how much he loves King's X, because I also love them as well. And yeah, and it from the range, from all the way from, all the grunge bands like Pearl Jam and Soundgarden, and then you've got, Pantera and Metallica. I mean, everybody, the gamut of all the metal bands always love this band. I think because it was, again, they're doing something different and unique, which is hard to do, and hard to do it well.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're as good live as they are in the studio, which is rare nowadays, but they were legit. And every time I've seen them, they sound incredible. The vocals are great. And it's just, I love watching Jerry play drums. He's so unique to watch.
Yeah, and all three of them together, just because they're all a little quirky the way they play, but it just all fits together so well. It's pretty amazing when you don't see that happen often. So it's cool that they're still doing it. And I like I said, I like, obviously Dogman is probably the best of the best produced records they did, because it's Brendan and it's super heavy, and they took their time to do it. But I always loved the way this record sounded. I thought this one, like I said earlier, this one sounded to me at this point in their career like the most like King's X, because I'd seen them live a bunch, obviously, and you could kind of tell, okay, this is more like they are live on the recording on this record.
Yeah, and it's very dry, this album. And if you listen to like Gretchen and Faith, Hope, and Love, they're wetter records, like a little more 80s, stuck
80s.
in. Yeah, and this record, they clearly started to notice what was happening around them. And I don't know if dry was necessarily the right approach, because the Brendan O'Brien record is dry for sure, but it's just nasty sounding.
Yes,
probably the thing that changed the most with them on the album after this is the drum sound. It's just like gnarly sounding, but this is very clean and very slick, but it works. I always thought it worked for them, especially at that time. So it's interesting to me that they don't like it. Well,
I don't think that they don't like this one as much. The first three, I know, definitely wasn't their favorite. I think it's more just about the experiences they had in the studio and all that sort of stuff, which we'll touch on a little bit when Doug comes on. But I don't know, this one just kind of, again, you talk about how do you pick a King's X song? We already did Dogman, obviously, earlier with maybe the biggest King's X fan of all time, Hal Sparks, the great comedian, actor. I mean, that's kind of their quintessential record. That's if you look at all the Spotify playlists and all their sales and everything, this is kind of the big one. And that was a very angry King's X band that made that record, which angry bands always make really good records. So there you have it.
Oh yeah, and there's B-sides from that record, from Dogman as well, that are really incredible, that I came out on like a CD single or something I've got kicking around somewhere. But the thing about this record that I love is, besides the massive like mid-range guitar sound, is just the vocal performance across the board of the whole. It's so incredible. I think it's like their pinnacle of like harmonies and harmony writing, and just so good. And you're right, I think it is the next step. And the bonus song, I think that's on the Bill and Ted soundtrack, Junior's Gone Wild, that's like a killer song. And it eventually, I think, ended up on this record in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, same session. But I've never really known much about the recording process for these records, which has been a bit frustrating. And I've dug around and have never really been able to find out like what the process was, because Brendan's process is well documented and he talks about it in many interviews. So I'd be quite curious, to hear what Doug has to say about it.
Yeah, they don't really talk a lot about it. not to harp too much on it, but it was a difficult time when they're in the studio dealing with Sam, and Sam had a vision, and there was a lot of stuff going on there. So I think that they don't really openly talk about it. But I mean, I just know I've talked to Sam, back in the day, and I mean, these records were, aside from them probably doing 1,000 takes of everything, I mean, the studio they used, and we did Galactic Cowboys, which Sam Taylor also did, was kind of hand in hand with King's X back in the day. The recordings, their studios weren't anything super crazy special. Just it was a decent studio in Houston. I've been there once, and it's a nice studio, but nothing truly spectacular. Yeah. And I think the early King's X stuff, that's why I like this. Maybe because it's just getting to the 90s at this point, but the earlier King's X, and again, they're all friggin' phenomenal. But the production was definitely very 80s kind of sounding. 80s trying to be the 60s, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I was just curious if, did they track live? Was there a lot of overdubbing? I mean, obviously the guitars are perfect and doubled and everything, but
They did a lot of takes, and a lot of reworking of songs, and a lot of that stuff that went on, which I don't know that the band was super, super happy with. But
well, for me as a bass player and a producer, it was a huge influence. Definitely a lot of records, bands, and producers shaped my influence and sound, and this band is one of them. It was just something that made me want to make records, and it's really interesting to hear that struggle, because I wasn't familiar with that part of their story. So
yeah, it's fairly well out there. I mean, they don't talk a lot about it, but it's out there, and I'm sure and Doug and I'll touch on it a little bit. I think that's also the brilliance of this band, is you can go in and, I mean, I don't necessarily want to equate it with, Mutt Lange and Def Leppard, because it's two totally different things, but there's definitely a lot of that, but they're still able to make phenomenal music, no matter what the process of making it was. So that's the thing that always kind of blows me away, because anytime, this as a producer, anytime you have a session that's not going perfectly, a lot of times you don't get great music out of it. They certainly made, 4 landmark records, however they were able to do it, and they all are incredible.
I think it speaks volumes to them as musicians, because if you listen to this record, those first 4 in general, the music's perfect. It just sounds really well played, great recording, super slick. The thing that makes it more 60s and vibey is the vocals.
Yes.
Doug's soul and feel, I think that's where these records are allowed to be a little more wild, is in the vocals. It's not like they're super perfect compared to the music.
Well, that's what Doug said it before. They wanted to be a heavy band, and then when they start singing, it's just it sounds the way it does, and it just has this melody in there that makes it still heavy but less heavy. But that's the brilliance of the band, because they're just so different and so unique. There's no band that sounds anything like them. And Galactic Cowboys is probably the closest one, because they were around the same time. But Galactic was even a little heavier sometimes than King's X was. But that was the thing about them. They're just so unique, and so just the songwriting is just so incredible. Like, for example, this song. So I listened to it 4 or 5 days ago to brush up before I did the podcast. And it's been in my frigging head nonstop for the last 5 days. It's still in my head as I'm doing the podcast.
And I remember someone who was taking them 2 by 2. And lately I've become the one who had laughed at you too. There was a black flag on my morning. There was a black flag on my day. There was a black flag on everything around it. I was walking backwards again. Black flag.
I'll tell you, and as soon as you said it to me, I probably hadn't heard this song since I saw them live last, which was maybe 3 years ago. So it's interesting that I instantly could remember exactly how it sounds. I almost didn't even need to listen to it, because I just knew instantly. I'm like, oh yeah, super dry snare drum, still sounds like Jerry though. But the guitar sound really ballsy and really loud. Which was interesting, because that was very much a 90s thing, where the drums started to take a back seat and guitars just got louder and louder, and you got less reverb, and it just made for, I wouldn't disagree that it sort of has a grunge edge to it in that respect.
Look, guitars being louder is never a bad thing. But
No.
anyway, thanks again for doing this. Always good to see you. Appreciate you. And I'm sure we'll see you again soon.
My pleasure, Brian. Thanks for having me back.
The new year brings new health goals and wealth goals. Protecting your identity is an important step. Your info is in endless places that could expose you to identity theft, leading to lost funds. LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Resolve to make identity health and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit lifelock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
I had that dream again. My small business needs to hire, but I don't use LinkedIn, and I hire an energy vampire. But also, they're a literal vampire. And suddenly, my team is spending all their time sharpening wooden stakes and buying bulk silver and rehearsing ancient chants, and then I wake up.
Don't let hiring nightmares ruin your dreams. LinkedIn Jobs' new AI assistant takes insights from over 1 billion professionals to create a short list of the best fits for you. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/quality. Start hiring today with LinkedIn.
Super happy to welcome this next man in. You know him from projects like KXM, Pound Hound, Super Shine. He's played with a ton of amazing live bands and legendary guys on a bunch of different records and tours. But we all know him for his main gig being the bass player, singer, and songwriter for the incredible band King's X. Mr. Dug Pinnick, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Life is good.
Awesome. So happy to have you here. Black Flag. It's hard to pick a King's X song because there's 5 million incredible songs.
Awesome.
But doing my research, I was like, first of all, I love the song, and it's one of your top 10 songs on Spotify and all those sort of things. This is one of those songs that encapsulates what King's X is. Heavy riffs, really great catchy choruses and verses, and all of the great backing vocals and the whole vocal harmony thing. So like everything you guys were really known for, I think, is in this song. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. I pulled it up a few minutes ago just to listen to it before we start talking. And I thought to myself, that represents us pretty much, in many, many different areas, Yeah,
it was interesting because when I was looking back at this record, this came out in the 80s when sequencing was really important. And this song was like kind of the eighth song on the record, which I thought is very odd because this is like one of the best songs on the record. Do you remember how that happened, or was it just, who knows?
No, I had nothing to do with sequencing. That was those first 4 records especially.
Yeah.
No, we didn't. There were a few things in the camp that controlled us and did their own thing. You know what I'm saying?
Understood. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that. But this song, it's such a great song, and everybody talks about King's X, and one of the most legendary bands of all time, influenced everybody from grunge to metal to there's not a band that doesn't love King's X that's in the hard rock world at all. And it's amazing how many different people love what you guys did because it was so different. And the good thing is, because it was so different, it's amazing. Of course, the bad thing is it was so different that people probably couldn't grasp it as much as they should have.
And true.
But when you guys were putting together the band in the beginning, and it had this, Beatles harmonies and this heavy music, and it was something really different. Was it something that all you guys wanted to do, or did it just kind of come together? Like, how did that whole piece of it kind of all come into focus?
We actually wanted to be as heavy as fuck. And when we sang, it always sounded like the Beatles. And it just kind of became the foundation of us, and then we danced with all kinds of different ideas on top of it and different genre attitudes and things like that. But that's the bottom line, is we just like heavy music.
Yeah, and it was so different and unique. I mean, when I first heard you guys, I was just blown away. I've never heard anything like this before. Like, this is so incredible. And then seeing you, I believe the first time I saw you was at it was either Woodstock or Radio City in Anaheim. I can't remember which one. I would put that in my all-time top 25 shows ever. And I've seen 6,000 of them. So
wow.
It was one of those things where you guys just had something special that only a few bands can do. I think U2 has it, Metallica at times has it, where the band and the audience are one being, one thing. There's no barriers or anything, and that's what came across for me, especially that first show. It's like, oh my gosh, this is really, really incredible. Again, is that just something that just happens? Do you guys think about these things?
No, not really. It's just that as long as we've been a band, even if we're playing for 10 people, half of them just lose their mind and the other half don't care. And it's been that way from day one. But the thing is, there's nothing in between, never in between. People are just like, they're not interested and they just kind of drink and walk out the door or whatever. But the people that get it, they come down front, they're standing, they're jumping, and these people, many of them are still following us 46 years later. It's pretty cool to run into people, or people post something they saw us back in a club back in '85, and they're still following us. There's something that we connected with a certain type of people. I think it's the artistic side of it, and there's an organic side to us, I think, that a lot of people are attracted to. And another thing is, I think that we do what we learn from everyone else, is to draw from everywhere to try to make a song rather than stick to a genre or stick to a thing, and we went through our things. We sounded like U2 for a year or so. I was singing like I was Bono. We were doing the new wave stuff and pogoing around, and listening to Cyndi Lauper. That was a second in our life. But we ended up realizing that it doesn't matter what kind of sound we were going for, it always ended up heavy as fuck, and we sounded like the Beatles singing it. So we just kept going.
That's the uniqueness of it too. And man, the amount of, you could go on and on. There's so many different people that love King's X or are hugely influenced by them. But the thing that I found really interesting just is the wave of different people. Like I remember a show you guys played at, it was called The Palace at one time. I don't know. It's still in Hollywood. It's across the street from Capitol Records. And it's an incredible show, sold out. And you told me afterwards, I never saw him that whole night, but Chris Cornell was standing right in front of you, the first row, like bowing the whole show. And you're like up there going, Chris Cornell's just like bowing in front of me. What's going on here?
It was a surreal moment. Him and Maynard was there, and a couple guys from Fishbone and Alan Johannes from Queens of Stone Age. They all came backstage and hung out with us right before we went on, and we didn't know. We never met them. They just barged into our dressing room and sat down, and we just hung out. I sat next to Chris is here and Maynard is here. Never met him before. I'm losing my mind going, dude, and we're all freaking out on each other, which was so cool. We were all very insecure, kind of like, I like the way you sing. I like the way you sing. I like your band. I like your band. And we were all doing that. And it was just so, I think if anybody had cameras, they would have just said, that's so cute.
Yeah. One thing I always loved about the love for you guys was, it's like you said, Chris Cornell and Maynard and all the guys from Pearl Jam love you. Dimebag Darrell was a massive, massive fan. I had many conversations with Dime about how incredible King's X was, and he loved you. And then the one thing that really blew me away, all that stuff blows you away, right? It's like, we're just doing it to do it, and we're just fans and all this stuff. And when you see who's reacting, it's always really amazing. But VH1 did the top 100 hard rock artists of all time. Sometime in the 90s. And you guys were number 83, which I was like, damn right they should be. So I'm watching, I don't know anything about, there's just a special that comes on, people were introducing the bands. And the guy that introduced you as the number 83 band and went on for about 5 solid minutes about how much he loved you was Richie Blackmore, which blew me away, because Blackmore, number one, one of the greatest guitar players of all time. But number two, you never see him do press or really talk about anything, especially back then.
He hates everybody.
I know. And then I saw this. I'm like, wait, this is insane.
He told me he only listens to classical music and King's X.
Yeah. I love that.
Yngwie told me that too.
Yeah. Well, anything Richie Blackmore does, Yngwie will do the same thing.
Well, there it is. Yeah, Richie called me up back on the Gretchen, I think around when the Gretchen record was out, and asked me if I wanted to join the band. They were looking for a new singer, and I told him no. I got my own. I'm happy in my own band.
Yeah, I can only imagine that's happened a bunch of times. So Black Flag is the last album with Sam Taylor. And of course, if you don't know Sam Taylor was the producer of the first 4 King's X records. He wanted to be the 4th member. And there was definitely, he's also managing, and there's a whole lot of things going on there. It wasn't the best of relationships for sure. So when you're making this record, the last one, and it's a phenomenal record.
Thank you.
Did you know that this was going to be the last one with him? Like, what was the vibe in the studio where you're making the record?
No, at that point, I think we were getting used to making records with him. That was the 4th record. And I don't remember a lot of drama making that record. To me, it was pretty easy to make because I don't have any emotional baggage with it when I play it back. The first couple records, first 3 records, there's too much emotion behind it. I can barely listen to them. But this one, for me, the 4th record was like, it's like when YouTube put out 3 weird albums and then they put out Pride in the Name of Love, which was basically everything U2 sounded like. That's it, the blueprint. And I think that our 4th record was like that. It was like a blueprint. This is King's X. Nothing new is coming out of this. And I think it was like the end of a songwriting era and an era for us. Because after he left, and we saw the world as it was, basically, and we got kind of pissed, and there came Dogman. Dogman was like a reaction of the first 4 records. It's like, okay, that was what it was, but this is really who we are.
100%.
When you see us live, we like to blow your head off. Those records are so weak to me that to this day it's still difficult. Even though, nowadays, because of streaming and what kids listen to music on, all those old records sound great.
Yeah, I mean, look, I was completely blown away by all of those records. But this one, for me, and you're right, I think this was, for me, the first, okay, this is really what King's X is.
Yeah.
Like more so than the other ones. You can just kind of tell that you guys were maturing as songwriters and kind of getting your direction in. I'm just going to guess there was a little bit less direction maybe from Sam on this one, but I could be wrong.
Well, there wasn't a lot of direction from him as much as a lot of fighting over what to do. It's like everything we wrote usually was pretty close to what it was going to sound like. And Sam would come in and try to dissect the songs for my songwriter's purpose. Like, if you got the riff Black Flag, well, he'll go, that's a great riff, but let's try it this way, this way, this way. And after you did it 20 times, you're pissed off because the original one worked and you wasted all that time. So we used to struggle with that kind of a thing. We always felt like our songs weren't appreciated more than, oh, here's my new song. Okay, let's break it down, and now we're not like that. We just kind of, all that's gone. When Sam left, there was more like a relaxed thing where we just laid the shit down and didn't worry that Dad was going to yell at us because we didn't work so hard.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see that on Dogman. And Dogman definitely is probably the heaviest of all the King's X records.
Yeah.
We talked about Dogman on this podcast with Hal Sparks, who probably is the biggest King's X fan in the entire world.
I love Hal.
He went on and on and on, as he should. And that's a great record. And you did that with Brendan O'Brien, which is like night and day, I think, compared to
it was
doing before. So I love Brendan. He actually, the first record he ever produced was on Metal at a band called Johnny Law in like 1991 or something. But
wow, he always had that sound, that he was way ahead of everybody else. Anything I heard that he produced or mixed, even when he worked with Rick Rubin, it had that real dry Slayer sound, which was just like in your face. Nothing was eerie like that. Nobody listened to music raw, which was so cool.
Well, you can hear what's going on too, which is good. And Dogman, especially the bottom end on that record, is like booming. I imagine that made you pretty happy.
It did. I was really happy. It kind of morphed the guitar a little bit, but we just dealt with it.
Yeah, it was interesting because when bands make records and you're in certain headspaces, I've sadly, my favorite Black Sabbath record is Sabotage. And I've sadly learned over the years that that's probably all of those guys in that band's least favorite album because of what was going on with the band. They had all sorts of problems with lawyers and managers, and they were all really angry. And So they don't like that record. But, I mean, this is the greatest Black Sabbath record ever. But when you're writing this, and Black Flag is just it's an interesting lyric and an interesting title. Also looking back at where you guys were kind of about to make this transition. Do you think any of that creeped into the songwriting at all on that record, specifically this song?
I don't know, because Ty wrote the lyrics, and he wrote the song, and I'm sure at that time we were struggling in all of the swirl of craziness that was going on around us that we really couldn't pinpoint. And that's, I think, the song, for me personally, it's like, we saw the dark cloud, but we just didn't know what it was. At the end of the day, Ty could be making up lyrics just because you don't have nothing else to say.
I know that's always the pulling back the curtain. Sometimes you look at these lyrics and like, oh my gosh, this is still meaningful. And obviously lyrics mean different things to different people. And that's why a lot of songwriters don't like to, it's whatever you think it's going to be, which is fine.
Right.
But sometimes you pull back the curtain and realize it's not all that complicated and deep. Really.
No, it's not. I love to tell any lyrics that I write, I love to explain them, because all the lyrics that I write have a whole story behind them. But I don't know what Ty's story is on Black Flag, because he wrote that one.
Fair enough. Fair enough. You guys have been doing this as these three members for an awfully long time, which is a pretty incredible thing, because bands, as you all know, don't last. And I like to I talk about this a lot on this podcast and just in general. You talk about, this band, never became huge, whether it's, Fates Warning or King's X or, whatever band you want to pick, right? But they're all Armored Saint, but they're all have this long career. And I look at things as a marathon, not a sprint. It would have been nice to have, one of these bands have a platinum record when they first came out. But where would that have taken the band after that? Because you see so many bands that had a lot of success early, they just kind of faded away because of all that. And that's one thing I love about, all bands like you guys. You've been doing it for a long time, same band members. And when you look at the marathon, you're still putting out great music. You're still phenomenal live. You're still performing at a really high level. And that to me is if you want to call this a game, that's like, winning the game, doing this. What keeps you guys, the three of you, still wanting to do this and still, it seems like having a good time doing it and putting out incredible music?
I do think it's a lack of success, because it's sort of like playing a video game that you just can't put the thing down. You just gotta, you keep losing, but I'm gonna figure this out. And after a while, you realize that you're not gonna win. So enjoy the game and learn from it and hone in your skills and fucking show everybody how great you can do it. I mean, that's my attitude now. It's like, as long as we've been going at it, there's a magic that we have that no band has until they reach those many years, like ZZ Top or U2, when you walk in the door and you see the band play, and it's like, Paul Schaefer said that he jammed with us one time. We did Born to Be Loved, and we had him play and Felicia play. And when we ended the sound check doing the song, he just stopped and went to the mic and said, "Dude, I've never played with people in life like this." He said, "You guys play like you're in each other's head." He says, "I've never experienced this before." And he was shocked. And we were shocked that he would feel that, and I'm going, wow. And that's kind of the magic I'm learning, that isn't it what it is it's just like if you're married and you're having sex, sooner or later, y'all got it down.
There's something special with what you guys do that I think comes across to really everybody. And we've talked so much about how many super famous people are into what you guys have done, which is pretty impressive, but also just the fan base is always their very loyal fan base.
I do believe one thing about fame and fortune also is that the three of us, because of who we are, I think the universe said, no, we can't let that happen, because it'll kill everything that's coming out. And it would have. Ty always says if we got famous and rich, we would have broke up a long time ago. And also, I look back at those days too and realize just what I went through making those first 2 or 3 records with the business and the management and all the stuff that went on in my life, I don't know if I would have been able to deal with another 20 years of someone manipulating and controlling my life and not allowing me to be me. Because I was trying to find out who I was while I was writing those songs when nobody's buying them. So I'm thinking, well, I must be a horrible songwriter, you know, and you know, and all that kind of stuff. We got therapy, and you know, and the other thing is I like to do things, give things to people and stuff. And people would have used me and took everything that I had, and I would have had drama and all kinds of crap in my life. And I'm really glad that never happened, you know. And the other thing too is, and also that the cool thing is that we continually did what we did, and I still get a paycheck, and I don't have to get on the street corner, so I'm good.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I say, that the marathon over the sprint, and you're right, because you know, you see so many bands that blow up really big, and then they blow up because of all the other pressures and stuff, and that would be sad for us as fans to lose the specialness of what you guys do.
Oh, thanks. Well, our King's X fans are some of the most awesomest people. I mean, it blows my mind how deep they go, you know, with our music in so many areas. You know, I watch people crying when we're doing songs, and people saying that these songs got them through high school or grade school or a divorce or something, you know, and I know that happens to all bands, but it's just so nice to feel that you're actually doing something that you love to do, because I don't go out there to do that. I go out there just to make music because I like to do it. You know, what comes along with it blows my mind every time. It's never stopped.
And that's why it works, because ultimately that's any band. Like I tell bands all the time, like listen to your influences, but don't copy them. Just be yourself.
Right.
And that's what you guys have done tremendously for over all these years. So I'm happy you're still doing it, and still doing it at a high level. And
thank you.
King's X fans, you're right. When you meet King's X fans, they're not just fans. They're like super fans. Like there's a connection that you guys have that's pretty special with you and your fans. That we talked about it earlier, but describe like that. How does that, when you're up on stage, can you really feel that?
Yeah, because when they sing every song, and sometimes there's songs where I just back up and let them sing it, and they sing it with such enthusiasm, and also you can tell those people that don't know the song, you can see they're so like, I don't know this song. And you know, which means next time you come, you better know that song. I mean, there's peer pressure like a motherfucker out there. It's awesome. You know, I mean, it's like if everybody's standing up and there's a few people sitting there, you know, I don't mind people sitting down because I want to sit. I don't want to stand and watch a band. I'm old and lazy. But they'll make them people get up, you know, and I'm going, no, let them sit.
No, they should get up and move around. Come on. It's a great show. Yeah, I just love all that stuff, and again, that you guys are still making such great music and still phenomenal live.
Thanks.
Like you said, keep doing it, because it really is a gift to all of us.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're the ones creating it. I'm just merely listening. My job's pretty easy when it comes to that part of things.
Cool.
Well, dude, I cannot thank you enough for doing this. It's been awesome, and we could sit here and talk forever, but there's
we can.
The unfortunate podcast guys only allow me a certain amount of time. I keep arguing with them for that, but that was awesome, dude. Thank you so much.
It's always good to talk to you, Brian. I love talking to you.
There you have it. That was a lot of fun talking to Dug Pinnick, one of my favorite people, and it was an honor for us to work with King's X for quite a long time, and so happy to see them still doing things, and that was really great. Thanks to Jay Ruston, thanks to Martin Popoff, thanks to Lizzie Borden for our theme song, and the producer, Christian Blatt, who makes it all happen. We'll see you guys next episode.
It's one